Greetings, YouTube! I never thought I'd live to see the fucking day, because there's been a lot said and nothing done, let's be honest. For those of you who are not aware, PEGI stands for Pan-European Game Information. It's the body that puts all those age ratings and warning labels like fear and violence on your video games these days, at least in Europe. And it's handled by an organisation called PEGI SA, which is established under Belgium law. Why is that important? Well, it just so happens that Belgium recently banned microtransaction-driven loot boxes back in April. I know that's not very recently, but even so, the point is that from this Christmas in Europe, they will include an in-app purchase label on the back of the box. I couldn't be more thrilled. Well, actually, that's not quite true. I'd have been more thrilled if the government had actually just banned them outright, but they've already decided they're not going to do that. So I'll take this for what it's worth, which is something at least. Obviously, this is the game industry trying to do something before they're forced to by the government. They don't want government regulation. Hell, I don't think any industry really does. But they, you know, after the whole furore, and I really do think EA deserves the credit on this one. In fact, you know what? They deserve a round of applause for this one. Because, seriously, EA, you guys did this. I mean, plenty of other games have had loot boxes and microtransaction purchase loot boxes in them. Overwatch is probably one of the best well-known examples, and then there's been things like Shadow of War, Destiny 2, Far Cry 5, you know, there's been loads. But they've all had microtransactions. Actually, Far Cry 5 hasn't had loot boxes in it, has it? It's had microtransactions in them. That was a bit unfair of me. But whatever. There have been games that have had randomized purchases in them for ages, but then Star Wars Battlefront EA2 happened. And the damnedest thing about that is EA completely forgot that that game would not only rake in Battlefront fans of the original games, and possibly the first game as well that they did, it would not only rake in Battlefield fans, because DICE was the developer who did those as well, and it uses the same sort of combined arms design. I mean, not quite as good in my opinion, but anyway. But also, it would rake in Star Wars fans. The kind of people that may not have even played this kind of game before, who may not even play games anyway, or not a huge amount, but people who would just turn up because it's Star Wars. I mean, why would, if you're a Star Wars fan, why wouldn't you turn up to Star Wars Battlefront EA2, you know? I mean, come on. And EA just pushed this microtransaction-driven loot box shit, and then they compounded the matter by putting items in the loot boxes that actually improved your performance, rendering it pay to win. I mean, how bloody stupid can you get? And they really do deserve the credit. Well, I'm not quite sure credit is the right word. They certainly won't see it as credit, but who gives a shit about what they think? They deserve the credit for doing this, because now everybody is talking about this. And I know Belgium is the only one who has banned loot boxes, and good on them, I say. But yeah, I'll take this for what it's worth. I'll take this as a small victory. That the PEGI ratings in Europe will now have to have this label on the back of the box. I don't know how historically accurate this is, and I may be way off the base. But you know what? This kind of reminds me of some perverse way of painting a red X on someone's front door to warn that there's plague inside. That's what it immediately reminded me of. Putting a label on the back of the box, because PEGI ratings, like the fear and the violence and the sex warnings, those labels only go on the back of the box. It's the age ratings that go on the front. And it just reminded me of that. It just reminded me of putting a mark on the box, marking this game as having in-app purchases in them. How dare it? And I'm thrilled. As I say, I'd be more thrilled if if the government had just banned loot boxes driven by microtransactions at the very least, because some games do have loot boxes in them, you know what I mean? I was just recently on, what was the game I was just recently playing? Oh yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn. That technically has loot boxes in it, but you can't purchase them in-game. You can only buy, well you can, but you can only buy them with in-game currency. They're those content boxes that you can get from the traders that contain random enhancements for your weapons and outfits. Technically they're loot boxes, but you can't buy them with the bullshit currency. And the bullshit currency is bought with real world money. You can't do that in it. So it's not gambling. Well, I suppose it is, but you're not gambling with real world money, is my point. Yeah, this is a good move. I think this is a case of the industry doing something before the government forces them to, because historically that's how this works. The industry, as with every industry, doesn't really like government interference, and I totally understand that. But I love that now games like I've said, Destiny 2, Shadow of War, Battlefront EA 2, they'll have, well, not Battlefront EA 2 actually, that game is not banned under Belgian law because now they've taken the microtransactions out. I do know that has happened. So that game is fine now in Belgium, but they have been forced to take them out. And that's great. That's great. Sorry, this rant is a bit unscripted. I'm not quite sure where I'm going with it. But I love this news. I just love it. I literally turned the TV on this morning and it was right there 5 minutes after waking up, and I couldn't be more thrilled. Yes, I could. But I'll take it for what it's worth. PEGI ratings are now to have an in-app purchase label on the back of the box from this Christmas. In Europe, at least. Because this is just the PEGI system. As I say, it's pan-European game information. But yeah, loving this. This was a hell of a piece of news to wake up to.